Hey guys, in this video we're gonna talk about why most people quit learning web development and how to succeed instead. So we're gonna cover the first and the number one reason why most people quit learning web development, what beginners think they should do, because that's what programmers told them to do, um, but which is actually not the right thing to do, and then I'm gonna cover what actually works, so what to do instead. So I'm a full stack software engineer. I've been a software engineer for the past 10 years, and I worked on more than 30 professional projects since I'm a freelancer. And I started as a backend Ruby on Rails developer, and then I learned JavaScript and React and all the modern JavaScript stack. So you're not dumb, you're just confused. And I'm not saying this to make you feel good. I mean, I am, but really, my point is that I've seen this over and over again in people trying to learn web development and some of my students. And yeah, I'm saying this because it's true. And I also like felt like this sometimes, and other software developers do feel like this sometimes, because the main reason for this feeling is confusion. It's just because there is so much to learn in web development, and you're feeling stuck because nothing connects. And what I mean by that is that there's so many concepts in web development. If when you're doing things they're not connecting with concepts you already understand or high level concepts, then obviously you're gonna feel like things are not working, but I'm bad at programming, I'm stuck, and all that kind of thoughts. But yeah, the real reason is because there's too much information. So obviously it's very important then to learn to focus on the right things. Otherwise you're just gonna get lost and you're gonna give up. And it's very important that you have a structure to go through, and a right order of learning web development. And obviously by um, consuming more and more tutorials, it's gonna just confuse you more and more. And if you pick the wrong tools or the wrong language, again, it's gonna add to the confusion and to the feeling that you're not good enough with these things. And this happens because beginners think they should do things one way, but that's not the right way. They go in this linear path of learning. Okay, I'm gonna learn HTML because people told me so, and because people told me it's the simplest thing to learn. And then I'm gonna learn CSS and then JavaScript, and those are like the basics I need to learn. And then I'm gonna learn a framework like React, and then maybe a backend framework like Node.js or Express. And yeah, this is just not the right map. This is like starting with the details and the specifics first, instead of learning the high level concepts first. And this leads you to trying to memorize syntax and programming concepts like loops and data structures. And again, those are the specifics, the details, and not the general important concepts to start from. And again, this is reinforced by watching endless tutorials that tells you that makes you think that the most important things are the syntax and the specifics, because that's all they talk about. So what to do instead? As you can see, I'm right to the point. I don't want to waste your time. So the most important thing to do is to master the general concepts, the overview. So that means how a web application works, and that means how the web works, and things like, what's an HTTP request, what happens when a user interacts with a web page, what happens when the request is sent from the browser to the server, and all these things that are the actual web fundamentals and the actual important things that allow you to know where you're at when you're developing features. And then from there, you start zoning in the details when you need them. And that's what I do with my students. We start learning the fundamentals, the high overview, the high level overview, and we start building features just with those concepts. And when we need to understand something more specific, then we talk about it. And that's what learning a framework allows you to do. So in my case, I use Ruby on Rails, but that works with other frameworks, as I will cover in the next slide. But learning a framework basically allows you to focus on those fundamentals, because a framework is built in a certain way that is already configured and that removes a lot of unnecessary friction, and you don't have to set up much things, and therefore you don't have to focus on much concepts. All you need to understand is um, the overall structure of that framework, and that allows you to have a repeatable and simplified process to develop features. And over time, when you're doing this over and over again, you start gaining confidence and you start learning the fundamentals in a solid way, and that also leaves you more and more time to start learning the details. And I just put these emojis back to back. I was trying to have fun with the slides, but really the idea here is to go away from the low level details and understandings of CSS and HTML and the specifics of a language, and go towards a high level overview, and always try to focus on the high level overview of how things are working and why they are working this way. And that gives you really the map of, okay, this is where I am and this is where I'm going when I'm building applications or features. And it just removes all the confusion in your head, because the confusion comes from there. Not knowing where you're at, what you're doing in the grand scheme of things. So those are some frameworks, popular frameworks that you can use to accomplish this goal. And those are all great frameworks. They have been developed for like the last 10 years. And yeah, for each popular language like Python or Ruby or PHP, those frameworks exist and they use the same concepts. And that's the great thing when you just pick one and focus on one language and one framework. When you master the fundamentals, you can move from one to the other using the same fundamentals. Then you'll just have to start looking up the differences on how to write something in one language versus the other. And yeah, in my case, I use Ruby and Ruby on Rails, because when I started learning web development, I was looking for the simplest and easiest way to do it. And Ruby seemed like a very simple, readable, almost like English language. And so I picked that, and I'm happy I did. Python is way more popular now than it was before, but for me, and it is also a great choice. It's actually quite similar to Ruby, but for me, Ruby is always going to be the number one choice for beginners and for learning, because it's the most readable one. And then, yeah, the developer experience is for me the best one. But again, it doesn't really matter too much which one you choose. If you really have to pick PHP or Python for some reason, then just apply the same concepts. It will work anyway. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in these kind of topics, I'm gonna cover some more in the next videos. And really the goal of these videos is to remove confusion around these topics and give you clarity so that you can learn web development the right way and focus on the right things. And with that said, thank you for watching and see you on the next one. Bye bye.